Well, hey, what's up, everybody? Alan here, and today's video is going to be a little different than my normal videos. It's going to be uncut, unscripted. I'll probably make a whole bunch of mistakes as I'm talking through this, but one of the things that's been on my mind lately is how easy it is for us to drift away from God, to where our hearts start to become cold and callous towards God. And some of the things that used to be important to us aren't important to us anymore. Some of the sins and struggles that we used to be really convicted about, now we do them and we don't experience that same level of conviction and guilt and having a contrite heart that's broken before God. And so oftentimes this doesn't just happen all of a sudden in our lives. It's kind of a slow leak. It happens over time if we're not careful to make sure that our hearts are really truly being focused on God in everything that we do. We can find ourselves kind of drifting away from God. So this morning in my quiet time, I was reading Psalm 63, and several questions just jumped off the page that I just started asking myself, because you may think that I've got this perfect relationship with God because I'm cranking out all these videos, right? But I struggle with some of the same things that you all struggle with, right? Just maintaining that intimacy with God. And so here are 6 questions that I saw from this text that I was challenged with this morning in my quiet time to ask myself in terms of whether I'm drifting from God. And I want to encourage you to ask yourself the same questions. First of all, it starts off, and we're just going to go through the scriptures, my favorite way of teaching, right? It says here, "You, God, are my God. Earnestly I seek you. I thirst for you. My whole being longs for you." And so the first question I started asking myself is, God, am I really earnestly seeking you? Like, am I just going through the motions to check off different boxes to say, okay, I read my Bible today, or, oh, okay, I prayed today, or I fasted this month, or yeah, I went to church on Sunday? Or am I really seeking God with all of my heart? Am I thirsting after God? David says, you know what, God, I thirst for you, right? My whole being longs for you. So I was challenged this morning to ask myself, man, is that really describing me? Am I really earnestly seeking God with all of my heart, with all of my mind, with all of my strength, and with all of my soul? Or am I kind of just going through the Christian life, just kind of meandering my way through, navigating through, but not really going deep in terms of my seeking for God? And so notice it says here, in a dry and parched land where there is no water. And so oftentimes that describes our Christian life. We can be in these dry seasons and these parched seasons, and partially because we're not really seeking God. We're not doing the things. We're not disciplining ourselves to spend that intimate time with God and do the things that would foster a great relationship with God. And so the second question that I asked myself as I was reading through this text is found in verse 2, and it says, "I have seen you in the sanctuary and beheld your power and your glory." And so I started asking myself the question, wow, when's the last time that I saw God, right? He says, "I have seen you in the sanctuary." And then he says, "I have beheld your power." So I started thinking, God, am I really experiencing this power that you promised me, right? Am I really experiencing the same power that raised Jesus Christ from the dead, that resurrection power? Am I experiencing that in my own life? Am I experiencing the regular experience of breaking sin patterns in my life and breaking strongholds and different things that I'm dealing with in my life? Am I seeing that power? Am I experiencing that power firsthand in my life? Is my life consistently being transformed to the image of Christ by the power of the Holy Spirit? Am I sensing your power as I'm talking to people and having relationships with people and sharing my faith with people? Do I sense your power working in my life? Or is my spiritual life just kind of mundane and not really going anywhere because I'm not putting the work in so that I can be close enough to you so that you can fill me with your spirit and empower me to do what it is you've called me to do? So that was the second thing that really jumped out to me. But then the third thing is actually found in verse 3, and it's actually woven in several times here in this text. And it says here, "Because your love is better than life, my lips will glorify you. I will praise you as long as I live, and in your name I will lift up my hands. And then in verse 5, it says at the end, with singing lips, my mouth will praise you. And then it goes on to say in verse 7, I sing in the shadow of your wings. And so the question I really wanted to ask myself here was, how's my worship? When's the last time I really spent time, intimate time with God in worship, where I just blocked out all the noise and all the distractions? I got on my knees before a holy God and just cried out to God with all of my heart. I put on my favorite worship music and I just cried, I just wept, I just confessed my sins, and I just prayed, and I just spent that time with God, and I allowed the words of these worship songs to minister to me, to remind me of God and who he was and who he is and who his character is and what he's done for me in my life. When's the last time that I've just spent that time with God, just thanking God and saying, God, you know what? I'm thankful for my wife. I'm thankful for my children. I'm thankful for my career. I'm thankful for how you blessed me and how you provided for me and how you protected me with my family and everything that you've done. And so I was really challenged this morning as I started reading this, because David says several times, my lips will glorify you. I will praise you as long as I live, meaning not just today, not just tomorrow, but consistently. For as long as I live, I will praise you. I will lift up my hands, meaning I am not ashamed to publicly and boldly worship you in spirit and in truth. Now, the next thing that challenged me in this text was found in verse 5, and it says, I will be fully satisfied as with the richest of foods. And so I read this morning, and as you can see, it really touched me, because I started thinking, am I really fully satisfied in God? Right? Does that really describe how I am right now? He says, I will be not just satisfied, but fully satisfied. And then he uses the word as, which if you understand how to study the scriptures, it's creating a simile. He's saying, I'm going to be fully satisfied with you as with the richest of foods. In other words, the way I feel when I eat my favorite meal, the richest of foods, the way I feel after that, man, I'm satisfied. Do I feel that same satisfaction with God? Or am I trying to fill my life with so many other things that I think is going to make me satisfied, whether it's my career, whether it is leisure, whether it is relaxation, whether it's travel, whether it's relationships, whether it's sports, whether it's hobbies, whatever it is, whether it's television, whether it's social media, right? Am I getting my satisfaction in all of these other things, or am I getting my ultimate satisfaction in God? And then the last question, actually, no, there's two more. I'm sorry. The next question that I really was challenged with was found in verse 6. And it says, on my bed, I remember you. I think of you through the watches of the night. And so the question I had to ask myself here is, do I really meditate on God? He says here, on my bed, I remember you. So he says, God, even when I'm on my bed, I'm thinking about you. I'm meditating on your precepts. I'm thinking about your law. I'm reading your word. I'm thinking about it. I'm chewing on it. I'm letting it marinate in my life. And then he says, I think of you even throughout the watches of the night. And so I started thinking, how much of my thoughts, how much of my time, how much of my affections is focused on meditating on God? So when I get up in the morning and I read my Bible, do I just read it and then I'm done with it after that? Or do I really read it with the intent of meditating on it throughout the day, chewing on it, thinking about how does this really apply to me, and what changes do I need to make in my relationships, in my career, in my personal life, at my job, in my church, in my community? Like, how is this text and how is what I'm reading impacting my life? And so I was challenged with that. And then the last question that I see from this wonderful psalm in verse 7 is, it says here, because you are my help, I sing in the shadow of your wings. I cling to you, your right hand upholds me. Now notice, those who want to kill me will be destroyed. They will go down to the depths of the earth. They will be given over to the sword and become food for jackals. But the king will rejoice in God. That's him. David is saying, I'm the king. All who swears by God will glory in him. And notice, while the mouths of liars will be silenced. And so the question I wanted to challenge myself with here is, do I really, really trust God to protect me? Is my ultimate trust when people mistreat me, when people do certain things that they shouldn't do against me, when people misalign me and slander me and gossip about me and say things about me that aren't true or whatever, am I trying to take matters into my own hands to try to handle certain things? Am I trying to get revenge against these people? Or do I have the faith to be able to say what David says? You know what, God? I'm going to trust in you because you are my help. I'm going to cling to you because your right hand is what is upholding me. And I'm going to trust that people, my haters and people who have mistreated me, you're going to handle them in your own time and in your own way. And so, my friends, I hope that, I know this was a little bit of different video, but I hope that these 6 questions will be questions that you will ask yourself every single day. Am I seeking God on a regular basis? Am I praising and worshiping God? Am I finding my ultimate satisfaction in God? Am I experiencing the supernatural, life-changing, Holy Spirit, resurrection power of Christ in my life? Am I meditating on God on a regular basis? And also, am I fully dependent and trusting in God? So I hope that helped you today. Let me know your thoughts. Leave it in the comment section below. Let me know if you want to see other videos like this. And let me know if there's another psalm that you want me to break down as well. Thank you guys so much. I love you, and I'll see you next time. God bless.